Okay, today I'm going to show you how to get this disgusting stuff out of your brake lines in a 2015 Subaru Forester. Okay, replacing the brake fluid in the 2015 Subaru Forester. I'm gonna do it the lazy way. I saw another video on YouTube, but there was no audio and it didn't seem to be the same setup as my vehicle. So I'm gonna show you where your brake fluid reservoir is right here. I would just get a rag and clean that up first so that no crud gets inside of your reservoir, okay, before you open it, okay. And I can see that my brake fluid is topped off. I'm gonna show you how to empty that out and refill everything in those lines. So there's this little filter here, and I'm just gonna use some needle nose pliers to kind of pluck it out and clean it off with the rag that I have sitting and waiting here. We'll use a turkey baster to get, or some other sort of pumping equipment to get the fluid out of the reservoir. I'm going the full lazy way. Okay, so all we're using here today is a 10mm wrench. I got this tubing, clear vinyl tubing, and the interior diameter is 3/16, 7-inch. That'll fit on our release valves for the brake fluid. I got this brake fluid DOT3, and I got the max version, which is supposed to last longer. And you don't really need DOT4 unless you're doing some heavy towing, which I don't plan on doing in the Subaru. And then I got myself a little bottle of apple juice. In there is brake fluid from my previous job on my truck. And on top, I just drilled a hole to fit big enough to fit this line in. Any plastic container will do. I chose a bottle of apple juice because it's bigger and it can hold a lot more fluid, as you can tell. It's about as big as this whole brake fluid container. So I could fill this thing up before ever having to dump some back into here or dump it elsewhere. Okay, so main thing you want to worry about when doing a brake fluid job is not getting air inside of your lines. And so I'm going to try to prevent that by using this old bottle of brake fluid here, taking my vinyl tubing and submerging it in an older and some of it's new brake fluid. And that way, if anything gets sucked back up as I'm hooking up to my my release valve, it'll suck up some brake fluid. Is you start off at the rear passenger tire. So I'm not even jacking up the car or taking the tires off, wheels off, just because I'm lazy. My brake lines without doing that. So that's what I'm gonna do, because why create more work for myself? So if you can get back here and you look back here, here's your brake caliper, the back of it. You can see the brake line coming from here, and here's your little release valve there. So we're gonna hook up to that. When you come up to these, they'll have little black rubber grommets. I already took mine off. I'll show you what those look like just now. So the rubber grommet comes off with your fingers, comes off pretty easy. You could just pull them off, and they kind of, whoop, I just dropped mine. They look like that right there. Not hard to see, not hard to find, not hard to remove. So don't worry too much about those. Just know the placement is right here. And then when you hook this up, you want to hook it up. I suspend mine a little bit higher. I try to wrap around something, so I've got plenty of extra line here to do things like that. And so what I'm going to try to do is, you want to go high but not too high. And so I'm just going to hook this up, and I'll show you a little trick here in a second, where I will get a twisty tie and hook it up to these shocks, and that way the brake coming out of the line is less likely to flow from the bottle in. It's only going to come out and then go up and out, because the lines are under pressure, especially when you press those brakes. So they're going to want to come out. My parking brake is not up, and I'm going to pump these brakes. 1, because it's the back line, I feel safe going with quite a few pumps before checking. But I'm gonna do about 10, and then I'm going to check my reservoir, and you can see it's gone down from what it was before. That's all that brake fluid draining out. And then I'm gonna go ahead and check. And you can see my entire line is now full of brake fluid. It's coming out, and I bet I can kind of take note that it's right here. And I'm gonna continue that process until and then add some more newer fluid to my reservoir. And then until the line's all flushed out. And make sure it does not get below the minimum amount, which I'm about there right now. Okay, so looking at this, I can see my minimum's right about there. I don't know if you can see those letters. And my fluid's right about at this. So I've got a little bit of pumps to go, and then I'm at minimum. And I do not want to get too low because I don't want to start sucking in air into those lines. And so when I do the refill, I'm going to have the rag handy because I do not want to spill this stuff anywhere. It's corrosive and could damage some things. So I'm going to try to pour it as cleanly as possible. I should have cut this a little bit better, but as you can see, it's almost funnel shaped where I've got a narrow edge there, and then allow air to suck in from the top. So that's kind of my strategy to have a cleaner pour. Okay, so I filled it up as much as I could. I'm gonna go back into the car and pump those brakes to flush that new stuff through. After a few pumps, I come back here and I'm gonna check and make sure fluid's still pumping out. I'm checking that if any bubbles are in the line. You could check if it's moving up or down to see if the fluid's moving. I can see that from where I started, I've gone up quite a bit. So I'm emptying out the old brake fluid. And so what I'm doing is just tightening this up, and I have my rag handy. And then I'll pull that through. And we'll just get this, pull it out, and lift our tube up so that everything drains out. And then we'll go do the next tire over here. And on this next one, I'm gonna see if I could skip the twisty tie and just use my setup like this. So let me crack this open and we'll get to pumping over here. I do wanna say, while I'm at it, that you've got the lines drain out at different rates. So your back lines might take more pumps than your front lines. So be careful with that. The front lines will drain much quicker, and they'll drain out that reservoir much quicker. So it's always good to keep watching your reservoir or have somebody else watching it for you. And I could see a little bit of fluid coming out, and I'm gonna kind of leave it like that. That's just about right. And we'll go get to pumping. And this reservoir is tiny, it drains quickly. So make sure you keep an eye on it. I could still fit myself. And what I did also is I drained some of the fluid out into the old canister there, the old container, because I'm gonna go dispose of it with the city, and they require it to be in its original container so they know what it is. But when you get under here, let's see if we can get this. Get under here, you can kind of see right there, that shiny silver part is where we're attaching to the back of this brake caliper. Okay, and here we go. See, we've got our setup, we're attached. We go a little bit higher and back in here. And this one, it looks like the wheel comes a little bit, kind of interferes almost with the tubing. So it might be a good idea to jack this up and take it off, but I'm gonna do the lazy man's way and see if it works for you guys. So I topped off my reservoir, and again, these front brakes will drain out much quicker because the lines don't have to go as far. So I'm just gonna give it less pumps. And so I kind of redid I cut my line and made it shorter. And I think I gave this one about 9 pumps, and I can already tell that it's got clean fluid inside here. So I am going to close this one off, and the one on the driver's side is going to be even quicker. Okay, and we are set up underneath the driver's side. Front wheel coming right underneath. And I apologize for the camera angles, but we've got we're connected here to the back of this brake caliper, and we will loosen that up and get to pumping. And the quickest way to check where your fill line is, or where you're filled up in the reservoir, if you're not in a well area, is just take a small flashlight and put it behind, and you can see right there where our fluids are. And once you're all done, don't forget to put back on those rubber caps and tighten up your release valves and call it a day. And cleaning up, honestly, I just try to drain out all my fluid, and I wipe it off with that rag, and then I put it into a bucket of kitty litter, which I plan on disposing of anyways. So if anyone else has better recommendations on that, please leave comments below, because I'm sure there's something better that I could be doing or viewers can be doing. And then I'm gonna take everything in here and pour it into this empty bottle so that I can dispose of it with the city.